Hello, I am Dale Husband, the Honorable Skeptic, and today I will provide a list of the greatest episodes of the Debbie and Carrie show, at least in my opinion. These represent best the ideals and values of the show. Number 10, Debbie and Laura on a date. In this episode, Debbie had just ended a romance with Carrie and had joined instead with another lesbian girl, Laura Park, who had once been Carrie's enemy. You'd think Carrie would be furious at this apparent act of betrayal on Debbie's part, but in fact Debbie had already discussed the issue with Carrie, and now Carrie was coming to meet with Laura. The outcome of that encounter, which ended with all three girls having friendly relations, showed that Debbie and Carrie were way more mature than most teens, and that would be a recurring issue in the saga. Number 9, Sandy Smith returns to town. Sandy had moved from the town to Tulsa after marrying her second husband, Steve Miller, but after only a couple of months, she returned to the town to deal with the local active corruption and abuse from the police department, and proceeded to become the town leader's worst nightmare by running for mayor of the town. Number 8, History of Love. This episode featured the beginning of the romance between Debbie and Carrie that would ultimately lead to their marriage, despite it being interrupted for a time by Laura Park. After Carrie told her mothers about this event, Jessica proceeded to give Carrie some brutally honest lessons about the dangers of sexual encounters and relationships by describing her own painful experiences, mincing no words. This is something I really wish all parents would do with their kids. Don't chicken out and just tell them the truth. They will respect you more when you do. Number 7, The Church Building Destroyed, Part 2. In the previous episode, it was revealed that the building of the Unitarian Universalist Church in the town had been burned down by an act of arson, and that the Reverend Dave Owen, who had been pastor of the church when it was Baptist, was responsible. In this one, Carla Jenkins gave a long testimony about her experiences with religion, and then the police came to report on another break in the arson case. Number 6, Debbie, her teacher and her mother fight. This was the 4th official episode of the Debbie and Carrie show and introduced Carla Jenkins, an English teacher at the school, as the first antagonist of the central characters of the series. But her brainwashing of Baptist dogmas was not total, because after an argument with Debbie, Carla had another one with Debbie's mother that resulted in Carla realizing she wasn't nearly as knowledgeable as she had thought. That was actually the beginning of Carla's conversion from Christianity, though no one knew it at the time. Number 5, Debbie and her mother discuss anti-LGBT bigotry. This was actually the first episode ever of the Debbie and Carrie saga. 2 versions have been produced and both remain on YouTube for historical reasons, but it is the second one that has been put in the official Debbie and Carrie episode list. When I uploaded the first version on April 30th, 2021, I wasn't even thinking of making a series at all. I just wanted to make fun of a video that had been made by the Watchtower, the leadership of the Jehovah's Witnesses, which was teaching homophobia to kids. But this episode tells the actual truth about the matter. Number 4, Questions about the fathers, conclusion. Because Debbie was still mourning for the death of her father the previous summer, her learning that Carrie had connected with her own genetic father caused a rift between the two girls, leading to Debbie turning to Laura Park instead. In making this episode, I used the complicated dialogue between the various characters to explore a ton of difficult issues all at once. And somehow, I was able to make it all work. Number 3, Wedding Dreams, conclusion. This is the 3rd season finale of the show and was also an attempt by me to bring the Debbie and Carrie show to a triumphant end. Now, under normal circumstances, I would never encourage teens to get married, because despite being nearly adults, their minds are often too immature to handle the difficulties of a marriage. But Debbie and Carrie, quite simply, were not typical teens at all. They were in most respects thinking and acting like adults already, and thus their mothers were finally convinced to grant their permission for their wedding. And then an enemy of theirs tried to ruin their lives. But instead that only gave them a chance to show their never say die attitude that all good couples should have for their love to last a lifetime. Number 2, A Glorious Epilogue. This was the 1st season finale and was also considered by me at the time the end of the series. Debbie, Carrie and their families were invited to attend and speak at the local Baptist church after it had fired their minister, the Reverend Dave Owen. The central characters were hoping to have peaceful relations with the Baptists afterward, so they were amazed when the church actually voted to stop being Baptist and instead become Unitarian Universalist. So the original UU fellowship founded by the central characters was disbanded, and then everyone proceeded to move forward to a new and brighter future. Number 1. Carrie the Survivor. Of all the episodes of the show I've ever done, this is the one I am most proud of. It depicts the morning after Carrie made a suicide attempt, which would be a recurring issue in many episodes to come. Jessica, Debbie and Lucy all work to rebuild Carrie's shattered self-esteem so she can find happiness in her life. I was still using the Lizzie model to play Carrie, and thus I had a problem. Carrie really should have been wearing a hospital gown and her hands and wrists bandaged up, but that was not possible with the Lizzie model, so this convinced me that I needed to replace Lizzie with a new custom-made model to play Carrie from then on. This would make a more realistic hospital scene when Carrie was shown in the episode Wedding Dreams. Conclusion. So that completes the list. I hope you enjoyed this.